My name is Jacob, and until last November, I would have said I was a rational person. I'm not someone who jumps to ghosts, demons, or anything supernatural. I'm not wired that way. But after what happened to me in the Monongahela forest, I can't think of any other explanation that makes sense. And believe me, I've tried. I was 23 at the time, finishing up my last semester of college. My younger brother, Nate, had died 6 months earlier in a car accident. He was 19. We'd been kind of close, where you don't need to say much to understand each other. After he died, I couldn't focus. School felt like a joke. I started skipping classes. My professors were lenient at first, but that faded. What I really needed was to get away. So I did. I'd always been into backpacking, and there was this stretch of forest I'd been wanting to explore for years, a no-service zone deep in Monongahela, miles off the main trails. Nobody goes out there unless they know what they're doing. That's what I wanted. Isolation, silence, somewhere Nate had never been, so I wouldn't be haunted by memories. I set out on a Friday morning with 4 days worth of supplies. The plan was simple: hike in 8 miles, set up camp, spend a couple days alone, and then hike back out Monday morning. I didn't tell anyone exactly where I was going, just that I was heading into the woods. That was mistake number one. The first day was normal. Hard hiking, cold wind, but nothing I hadn't dealt with before. I reached a clearing near a dry riverbed and set up camp under a cluster of white pines. It was late afternoon, and the sun filtered through the branches like stained glass. Peaceful. That night, I lit a fire and cooked ramen. I wrote in my journal, mostly random thoughts, some of them about Nate. Around 10 p.m., I crawled into my tent and fell asleep to the rustling of wind through the trees. Day 2 was quiet. I explored the area, found an old game trail, followed it for a mile or two, and circled back. I was starting to feel like I could finally breathe again. I made another fire that night and sat beside it, sipping tea from a metal cup. It was cold enough that I could see my breath. That's when I heard it, a voice. Behind me, just over my right shoulder, low, calm, familiar. Jake. I spun around, heart in my throat, and shined my flashlight toward the trees. Nothing. I stood up, listening hard. My ears were ringing from the sudden adrenaline spike. The fire cracked behind me. Jake. This time, it was clearer. It was Nate, I swear on my life. It was his voice. I shouted his name, more out of instinct than belief. My voice echoed through the trees, and then silence. I didn't sleep that night. I sat up in my tent with the flashlight on, jumping at every creak of the branches, every snap of a twig. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I was overtired. Maybe it was wind, carrying someone else's voice from miles away. The forest does weird things with sound. At dawn, I forced myself out of the tent. I made coffee with shaking hands. No sign of anything unusual. No footprints, no animals nearby. Still, I was rattled. I considered hiking back, but that felt like defeat. I convinced myself it was grief. Stress. I'd been writing about Nate, thinking about Nate. Of course, I imagined his voice. That's what I told myself. The third night was when it got worse. I made a fire again. I didn't want to, but it was too cold not to. I sat close, hood pulled tight, sipping the last of my tea. The woods were silent. Then, just past midnight, the voice returned. Why did you leave me, Jake? This time it was longer, closer. I stood up, shining my light. Nothing, but I felt the presence, like someone was watching from the dark. Come with me. I ran to the tent, zipped it shut, and grabbed the small knife I kept in my pack. My hands were numb. My breath felt too loud. I pressed record on my phone and let it run, just in case. I stayed like that for hours. In the morning, I played back the recording. Nothing, just the fire. The wind. Not a single voice, but I know what I heard. That afternoon, I found something beside the fire pit. A photo, a printout, an old picture of me and Nate on a camping trip when we were kids, maybe 10 and 6. It was burned around the edges. I didn't bring that photo. I checked my pack 3 times. Every pocket, nothing like it. My stomach dropped. I wanted to believe someone was playing a trick, but I was 8 miles deep in the forest. No one knew I was there. I decided to leave first. Thing in the morning, that night, I didn't light a fire. I stayed in the tent, fully clothed, knife in hand, light off. Around 2:30 a.m., the tent fabric rippled like something brushed against it. Then came the voice, right outside. It wasn't supposed to be me, Jake. The zipper trembled. I held my breath, too terrified to move. And then, a laugh. Nate's laugh, but twisted. Slowed down, like a recording played on dead batteries. It lasted too long. I blacked out at some point. I don't even remember falling asleep. When I woke up, it was morning. The zipper was still closed. Everything was in place, but outside the tent, sitting neatly beside the cold fire pit, was a tattered hoodie. Nate's HOODIE.blue, with the frayed cuffs. I remembered him wearing it the day he died. I packed everything in 5 minutes and hiked out. I didn't stop until I reached my car. I didn't look back. Not once. When I got home, I checked the voice recordings again. Still nothing, but in one clip, near the end, just as I'm zipping up the tent, there's a faint sound, a single breath, and then he said he wasn't dead. I never played it again. I sent the photo and the hoodie to my mom. Told her I found them while cleaning. She hung the photo in her hallway. She thinks it's sweet, that it was some kind of sign from Nate. Maybe she's right, but I haven't gone back into the woods since. I don't sleep through the night anymore, because sometimes, especially on cold, quiet nights, I still hear him, laughing, calling my name from just beyond the trees, asking why I left.